What's up everyone, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we'll be talking about New Year's Romancing Festival Minstrel banner. Here we have Mirsa, Minstrel and Aldora, and Mirsa is very powerful, but let's start talking about Minstrel. This guy here has supportive skills with some damage debuffing as well, but I don't know where to place him. Let's start talking about the first skill called New Year's Melody. This skill here is actually similar to a spell, it's supportive, it heals and cleans, as you can see here, 4 BP 3 when you fully awaken. The healing is not so powerful, but it scales better than spells because it is a weapon skill. When you get more weapon power, you get a very strong heal. With cleans, it means that this guy here is useful for some boss fights. Then the second skill is called Bone Crusher Plus, so it's an evolution of the original Bone Crusher. The original Bone Crusher was a B damage skill that can debuff STR, and as you can see it still keeps the same things. The value is still the same, small, so 15% debuff, critical against bone enemies. With 8 power and 6 BP you have very good damage. But the upgrade's not so important, since when we are using characters for debuff, they usually are not damage dealers. But here is a free upgrade, we cannot complain. The problem is that he does not have such a high intelligence, we'll be checking this later. So the last skill is called Fuji Eggplant. This one is... look at the animation of this, man. Well, this skill here is interesting. It's both blunt and sun this time, so more sun damage, even more after Leonard. Leonard also clashes with this guy here, so I don't know what to expect. As you can see, it's an indirect attack for all enemies. C power is not so high, but at least it's only 8 BP, so you can use this 2 times on a 3-turn cycle. Not that it will matter too much, usually we want firepower or A and more than that just to, well, clear waves easier. C power is not that high, and he's not so good as a damage dealer. So you are getting the effect called Morale Up Medium for 2 turns. Morale Up Medium increases damage by 25% for the whole squad, so this is not that bad. But here the problem is that it does not have fast. His other style also can bring morale up and guard up with a fast skill that does not do damage, but at least guarantees that he will go first, buffing the other characters. If you don't have a guarantee that he will go first, it may not help you too much. At least we have Amazon Raid Axe where we can place him on the front and maybe he will attack before, and you can use him with other sun characters. Just that we have way too many sun characters, and using 3 characters for blunt, like 3 club users on Amazon Raid Axe, is not so easy. So Fuji Eggplant does not do much damage, buffs the squad, but without a guarantee. It's kinda hard to use when you look on this. Well, time to look on his passives. Clicking on style details, let's give a look. First one is Healer's Power. Start of a turn, he recovers and also gives a self-defense boost. It's a very large effect for the boost. The boost is very nice, he becomes sort of a tank, but he also heals a very small effect. The very small effect is around 150, and the very large effect for defense boost should be around 30%. So what we get here is a heal, not so powerful, but decreasing damage by 30%. So when using him for support, he will survive better. Then the second one is called Unite. When all allies are surviving, when everyone is alive, his damage increases by large effect, 15%, and also reduces damage taken for him, and that should be 10%. So another passive that helps him survive. And the last one is Overtension, so that he helps a little more when doing overdrive. But he does not have any damage with his skills, or overdrive he barely helps. Are you using him for Bone Crusher? Are you using him for Fuji Eggplant? Well, I don't know. We have to check his other styles and his status. Okay, so now we are on Romancing SaGa database, rsdb.com. As you can see, he has a pass style. This one here, the first, is a new DX one, and this new one is limited just. And this STR for both are pretty similar. With this newest one does not have in such a high endurance, but he does have many defensive passives. I don't know why this happens, but yeah, this is how it works for him. He has 75 dexterity, good enough for the current standards. 74 agility, it's not so high, so that's why I was saying that his Fuji Eggplant will sometimes not attack before the other characters, so the fast property was needed here. His intelligence is only 67, so not so high for the future when choosing him as a debuffer. He does not self-buff his intelligence as well, so he will not be debuffing on turn 1 sometimes. Some bosses will just evade it because they have very high will. And there is 54 love and 40 charisma. Well, his will is also 70%. Not so high, nothing special here about him. Nothing is so high. His damage is not so high as well. But I think we need to check the UDX version of him to see what we can inherit. Since he does have Bone Crusher for debuff, but sometimes we may not need that. What can you do when you're not debuffing? You can use this attack called Earth Pulse if you have his UDX style. This is a cheap AoE attack that does both sun and blunt damage. Well, again, he's a club user, he needs STR, you depend on your formation. And the best skill that was kind of interesting was Fast Armée, because it was giving Morale up and Ward up with 8 BP cost only. The problem is that if you have Aldora and you also have UDX Matriarch, you don't have space for another buffer. This guy here is getting a heal now. If you have the UDX style, you can just inherit the heal New Year's Melody into this UDX one, depending on the situations, because this one also has a passive similar, actually the same passive as Blue White Rose, where he recovers all allies HP with a chance. His chance is lower, only 25% chance of healing around 150 HP for everyone. So he is useful more for those that don't have the styles, because when you get Matriarch in Aldora, you will find very hard moments where this guy can be useful. Very, very hard. So the other attack is a Clark the May, and this one is just damage, and it has B power 24, blunt and sun. But like I said, he's not that good as a damage dealer. He's just there sustaining. Maybe he can be good for STR debuff, but we need to check again. Let's return to the game. Bone Crusher Plus does not do much damage, does not have a low cost, 6 VP, still kinda high. We'll be getting characters that can do better STR debuffs in the next banner. Skirok is a better STR debuffer by inheritance. We'll also be getting another guy that can do it without costing too much. It will be a free character. So, I don't know how to use this Minstrel, to be honest. He cleanses, he can, well, sustain for long fights, but he has a problem with his Fugging Eggplant not having fast. This Morale up may be only useful for one turn. On the coast, it does not justify using this guy on boss fights, since he is better in boss fights if you think about healing. If you're not using him on boss fights, I don't know where you use him. So sadly, Minstrel is not that good, and I don't recommend people summoning for him. Even if you have the X1, within time, you just replace him easily with other characters like Howling Princess White Rose, Matriarch, UDX Matriarch, and Aldora. If you have the styles, you should skip Minstrel easily. Okay, now I'll be talking about Aldora. Aldora is a very strange hybrid in this game. I don't know how to use her so well as well. They changed her for global. In JP she used more physical damage. Now the SS style itself only has a spell. Her S style also has some physical skills, but we should ignore those. The first skill is Fire Hat. This one is already available in some other styles like the A style of Volcano or the Strife SS style. Fire Hat is actually interesting for some specific fights since it debuffs will. The damage is very bad, but 2 BP, you can keep constantly using this, and her intelligence is pretty high. She's probably the best Fire Hat user right now, but not that this is so important. Depending on the fight, you still have Strife that he's a free style. Okay, the next skill is called Fire Shuttlecock. This attack here is very similar to Global Final Emperor. Well, in the case that it's a 6 VP skill with deep power. It's not that bad when you think about this, but it's only hit. She uses swords, but her damage is only fire, and she needs intelligence. So for cycling is good because you can use it 2 times in a row, but the damage is not that high. If you have Polka's weapon maxed, the damage will be better than you expect, but nothing extraordinary. Better use it in, well, short cycles, in events where you have only 2 waves, and she can attack on wave 1 and wave 2 as well. And then the last skill is called Fire Will. This one, let's give a look here. This is a nuke. Very different, because it's triple S power and very high on the triple S tier, but the problem is that this one gives recoil damage, 30% of her max HP. Yes, it's right now the strongest fire nuke in the game. with just one hit, but Scatter Explosions with the newest version of Polka will do more damage, because he also has better passives, and he does not take recoil damage. So if you have the newest Polka with the Scatter Explosion, you should kinda ignore her as well. The thing is that this one at least gives slash as well. Depending on the content, just having hybrid may help you, but the 30% recoil damage is too much, because if you are using her on a boss fight, what will you do then? Maybe if you want more fire mages to use in enemy stream for some content, she will fill another slot. We already have Polka, we already have the second Barthélemy that can also use Scatter Explosions, we also have the other character being Vagnus. 4 different fire nukes that can be used. You don't need 4. With 2 you already have enough. If you already have 2 of them, you don't need this fire wheel attack. And the interesting thing is that Aldora has an S style that has another skill with recoil damage as well, but we'll be giving a look on this later. First, for abilities, she has Dare to Hope 2. When she's attacking and reaches 0 HP, she will recover all surviving allies' HP. This is the same thing with Sophia, with Null's daughter. Sometimes people use this strategy by placing this character in the front line so that it dies and heals. It was a very useful strategy in the past, but she doesn't have very high love to get a better heal, but it helps. When she dies, she heals everyone. Okay, the second one is called Decisive Battle. Attack damage increases by large effect, that is 15%. When HP is not full, damage increases further by 10%. So when HP is not full, it's not so good, since when she uses Fire Wheel, she's still on full HP. So she needs to use an attack with the coil to reduce her HP so that she gets the second passive activated. Strange, huh? Then the third part, this passive has 3 parts. When she gets to critical HP, attack will increase even further by 10% more. Well, there are 3 effects here, but the second and third part are kinda hard to use. So Aldora wants to take damage, and sometimes take a lot of damage to do more, but I don't know if this justifies her design. And then there's Battle Tension, then she gets 15% more, and also 1 more BP so that she can use Fire Wheel on turn 1, because this is a 11 BP skill. So after the first turn, getting 11 BP again will take a lot of time. That means the Aldora is even slower than Polka to recover. Polka only needs 9 BP to use Scatter Explosions, and he's easier to use. Aldora also suffers from not having a normal attack that increases intelligence. Other mages will increase their intelligence with normal attack, and by 11 you will sometimes even skip using Far Hat, because it takes too much turns by using Far Hat and recover only 1 BP to be able to use Far Wheel again. So maybe you are using her for Far Hat and Far Wheel Overdrive, I don't know. Her design is not so clear besides damage. For farming, but not for boss fights, since she just loses potential in boss fights and may just die. And a character needs to reach lower than max HP, sometimes it's suicidal. Okay, so what we have is 30% at all times, and then 40% on less than full, and 50% on critical. Critical you hardly be using, 40% sometimes, but most of the time 30 when farming and only using Far Wheel. If you're farming, well, an event that has 3 waves, you can just use Far Wheel and then stick to Far Hat. Well, with that said, we should check her S style and also her status. As you can see here, she does have very interesting status for Endurance and Will, 80%, 83%, so that even when she gets to lower than full HP, she still can take some hits. Her SDR is very bad because she lost the ability to use physical skills. She can inherit them, but it's not so important. We talk about this later. And there is 58 dexterity, I don't know why, because we will not be using any physical skills anymore. Her agility is 77, not so high for a mage. There are mages with higher than this. Her intelligence is 97, so nothing to write home about. Remember, Polka has outstanding 110% in intelligence. That's so high. Also, her love is very bad. When you look on this, only 41%. So her Dare to Hope is also kind of on the way of everything. One thing that needs to be said is that because she just needs to take damage to do more damage, when you get to critical HP, maybe you die, you can think that you got a reward by dying, by healing everyone. I don't know if this is so interesting in my opinion, because then you have to heal her again, and maybe if she dies again, you get recovered. It's just that it's something that can be used, but also takes a lot of risks in RNG, and the payoff is not so high. It's better just to use another mage that do more damage and don't need to die or just, well, take damage to do more. Okay, returning here, let's click. We'll be giving a look on her inheritance options. Then S style has something interesting, this Molten Flame attack. Interesting in the name, because I don't know why you should be using this. It uses only 3 BP, it's a very cheap heat attack. Well, there are not that many situations where you'll be using this, because it takes recoil damage of 15%. Why a D skill has a recoil damage of 15%? Only to trigger her passive, but then you are just hitting yourself. If the damage was stronger, that would justify, like Dora. Dora deals more damage by taking recoil. D power with 3 BP skill is not uncommon, so it seems like they gave this skill just so that she opens, attacking everyone, and then she can use Fire Wheel or Fiery Shuttlecock. What a strange name. And I don't know, you are just doing more damage on turn 2 and not on turn 1. On turn 1, if you want to farm a single boss, you will only do more damage on turn 2, and then maybe only with Fury Shuttlecock, because that's how you do this. The other skills are Heaven on Earth and Mirage Blade Plus. Since she does not have STR anymore, those two skills barely do damage. And 6 BP for stun is not so good, because you cannot spam this, like Bubble Pop from Mesartin and also Yundin. So let's return to the game. I don't think that Aldora has a very good design. Really don't think, because you either have lower potential to do damage on turn 1, or you take damage to do more damage on turn 2, and you can stack your status easily. Like even the newest version of Polka can use a 6 BP skill that stacks even more intelligence. He can even just use that skill if he wants, and then he can also heal if he needs more HP. Although he has lower endurance and will than Aldora, if you got that version of Polka and you have another fire damage dealer, like I said, Barthélemy or Wagner's, you can easily skip Aldora. If you don't, even thinking about then, I don't think the Aldora is a very good fire attacker, since her design has some flaws. Huge risk, not high payoff. Okay, then we talk about Mirsa, and he is the king of this banner. Yes, Mirsa is the king of this banner, and he has something very interesting and unique in global. The first skill is Silver Sword. This skill here is actually old. He has this one, his Platinum style. It's a 4 BP attack with Slash and Sun. It's a good damage for the coast, but you hardly be using this because his other skills are just so good. The second one is called Dawn, and it was buffed in global. This one is both Sun and Heat, D power, 5 BP, not so good when you think about the D power 5 BP coast, but it has critical against Undead and Demon. So because he does have very high status, this won't be bad damage, but he needs some preparation. We'll talk about the preparation for Dawn. You don't need to use this on turn 1 unless you just want to farm 3 waves and you don't have a higher power AoE skill. Dawn is not perfect, but it also needs Holy Element. Good that we get a new Holy Sword in this event to make Dawn better. Okay, and let's look on the animation of this. Very nice. Then we have the last one being Left Fork. Left Fork is a very powerful attack. Let's give a look at the animation first. Look, you saw many hits here. It's a random attack with 13 BP, only slash this time. You see, attacks random enemies 5 times, but always 5 times. There are many characters that can do multi-hit attacks, but they hit between 2 to 4, sometimes between 3 to 5. Sometimes they will just do only 2 hits instead of reaching the max potential, but Mirsa will always get the max potential. 5 hits, but 13 BP, meaning that he can only use this on turn 2. One good thing, he has his UDX style that has Steel Blade Light. He can just inherit Steel Blade Light. Even if he does not attack on the first turn, on the second turn, he will always use Left Fork. Only one problem is that his agility is not so impressive, but can be worked. With this attack, it's just one of the strongest nuke in the game right now, but lock it in on turn 2. Depending on the event, let's say that you have minions on the first wave, and you can clear with other characters like some with fast attack, like even Urpina or someone else. Then you have the boss on the second wave, and then you use left fork. That will give you a lot of damage. We have some competition with some other characters like the newest version of Madeline that also gives very high damage, but she takes recoil and she will not be so strong. Left fork also has something that we still haven't discussed. 5 hits, very powerful, kinda high cost, but had received a buff in global. Every time that this guy attacks, within the 5 hits, he will get a buff to his own STR and intelligence. Small effect, that means that it's 15% on max potential, so 75% increase in STR and intelligence. This is huge, no one can do this. But it also takes into consideration, what do you do after you buff yourself so much? It's very high. And also, you have to understand that when you buff yourself after the first hit, the second hit will do more damage, the third hit will do more damage, the fourth one will do even more damage, and the fifth attack will do even more. So every new hit gets higher damage because of the buffs. It's not only in, it's between each hit. So this means that this Mirsa is extremely powerful and probably one of the highest damage potentials in the game right now. He still does not beat Rufus, he's also a turn 2 damage dealer, but with just this skill here, we have more damage than Madeline and also than Final Emperor. If we get a future style for Mirsa with Power Charge 3 so that he can use this on turn 1, it will be so amazing. Please, developers, give us a Global X Mirsa with Power Charge 3 so that we can use this on turn 1. So this is one of the best skills in the game, but lock it on turn 2. And there's a question. What do you do after you buff yourself so much? Normal attacks, you are going BP to use left fork again. If you have no Aldora in a boss fight, you can just decrease the turns you need to regain left fork. That means that it takes a lot of time, like 13 BP will be more than 4 turns. With Nawal's daughter, we get that to 4. Well, not so bad again, but I don't know. Maybe he's better for burst damage, like I was talking about in events where you have a boss on the second wave, and then after that you don't need to attack too much since you are clearing in 1 turn. For long fights, we have better damage dealers that stack themselves with STR buffs. He does not buff his own STR, but he's still a very powerful character. I mean, does not buff with passives, only with the skill itself. But there are other characters that can buff themselves with every new attack. So, Mirsa is very good because of the skill, but we need to understand his passives as well. That means that Mirsa is the definitive version of Mirsa, but it comes with a price. UDX Mirsa has a passive that heals with 25% chance when he either attacks or when he counters. And that was so good because Steel Blade Light is an AoE heal that he can use, and sometimes he will just double heal, allowing him to survive better, since Mirsa is not really a tank. His will and endurance don't have very high values, and he does not have a passive that decreases damage. Only his Platinum style has. So, giving a look on this version here first. Purifying Light nullifies attacks with shadow damage, so he negates all types of shadow damage, just like his UDX version. So in battles like Skirak Battle and some others in the future, he will be very good. Since he negates, you can use it on Tiger Shark formation, placing on the front, and he will not receive damage, and this is like the best way to negate. And then when he gets directly attacked, he will counter with Saint Fire. Saint Fire is a raw attack, it's not a full AoE like Dawn, and it's both Sun and Heat, just again, same thing as here. He has Sun and Heat as his build, and it gives critical damage to Undead and Demon, just like Dawn as well. So when facing Undeads and Demons that attack with dark attacks, if you place him on the front, he will just do very good damage, and this version of Mirsa has very high intelligence, so the damage stacks and becomes very powerful. And here there's another thing that it's interesting. Let's say that you are using him on a boss fight, and the boss fight has more single target attacks and direct attacks. You place him on the front of Tiger Shark, and then you use left fork on the second turn. And then he will buff himself for 75 total, and he gets attacked. He will counter with this attack here, and the damage will be very powerful because of so many buffs. This is a viable strategy, but it depends on the situation. Like I was saying, an enemy that deals dark damage, and attack with direct attacks. When this scenario happens, this will be very, very interesting. Okay, this is the first passive. The second one is called Soul of Sword. When attacking with swords, that means when he's attacking with swords every time, attack damage will increase by 15%. And damage will be reduced by 10. So at least he has a damage reduction here. 10% reduction and 15% increase in damage. Then he has Weak Tension. Weak Tension gives him 15% increase in damage and 10% more when landing a weak attack. On total, what does he have? He has 40% increase in damage, but only 30% at all times and 40% when hitting weak targets. So he's better than the JP version when doing neutral damage. In JP they had 20% with Fired Up and 20% with Weak Point Focus. So our version is better, not just better, but also has something else, the damage reduction. 10% may not be so incredible, but in Mirsa's case, he will be attacked plenty of times, it really helps. Well, with that said, we have to check the status and other things about Mirsa. We have this information on our srsdb.com. There are an S style of Mirsa that you can get from Tower. Then we have the UDX version, the first one called Legendary Form. This also is returning with his banner. We run banner alongside Dark, we'll be talking about this later. And there is the Platinum one on the Eve of Battle, and then there is the current one, Oh, I Don't Drink. This is the new one, the new year version. When you look, he has a higher STR, still not that high, 95. Most attackers are coming with 100%, not that it makes that much difference, but since he attacks plenty of times, it's still okay. His endurance, like I was saying, is not so high, only 64%, only his Platinum style is a tank. Dexterity is on 70%, that is the current standards for the game, so that you don't miss on some bosses. His agility 70%, well, not so high, but not so bad for sword users, but he will not be one of the first ones attacking when you are farming. Many other attackers have more agility, like Madeline, Rofus, other nukers that have way more agility than him. Then his intelligence is very huge on 95, just the same values as STR. That's why I was saying that he gets a very strong counter in that situations where you are negating dark damage and countering with that attack, call it Saint Fire. And then you have 55 will only, well, not so bad for a physical attacker, but the same value as he has for UDX. And love is 40%, with charisma being 36. It's a little more love, so Steel Blade Light from his UDX version will be a little better here. So we have this Mirsa. This is the one that we are summoning on the banner. And let's give a look on what inheritance we can use. From UDX, we can inherit Steel Blade Light, that overpower attack that can heal. He will be healing for around 600, close to 700 now maxed, and it does not cost LP. When he was released, he made such a huge impact in the game, and he is now on a returning banner alongside Dark, two very good characters that are still relevant in the game. And although this Mirsa may be better sometimes for Steel Blade Light, since he can self-heal, damage will be better in the New Year version. And Steel Blade Light's the best inheritance. It's Slash and Sun, triple S damage with heal and also taunts. And when you taunt, you get more attack and to counter. Yeah, that's why it's interesting to have everything stacked. Also another good inheritance is called Stardust Slash. This one is an AoE attack, not so powerful, D only, but it debuffs will. Now we have very high intelligence with the New Year style, so he is the best will debuffer with a low cost, only 5 VP, but that is in AoE scenarios. I was talking about Fire Hat, that attack that Aldora has. It's better for single target since it's only 2 BP and other characters can use like Strife and Volcano. We also have a 5 VP one with Princess White Rose that deals better damage, but it's only single target. Mirsa is for AoE, and we also had another one that had for AoE that was the latest version of Brownie. But the latest version of Brownie doesn't have such a high intelligence. Remember, he will also get intelligence buff by use of left fork from here, so the intelligence will be so high that he will be debuffing will often. But he needs to recharge after using a left fork since he's 13 BP and still using 5 BP after that takes some time. Let's return here. Another inheritance can be this attack called Radiant Blade. That is an AoE slash and sun attack for those that don't have all current slash plus sun attackers, but we do have plenty. But just to explain that, you can also get something for AoE on turn 2. A better damage than just using down 3 times. Depending on the situations, you may prefer a nuke than, well, cheap attack with cheap damage and cheap cost. So, with that said, this version of Mirsa is super strong. Let's return here. And I do believe that this Mirsa is one of the best characters now with the inheritance of Steelblade Light, since Steelblade Light's still relevant. Sometimes you may prefer to use Steelblade Light and just counter. Sometimes you may just want to use left fork. It will depend on the design of the stage. If you have 2 waves, 3 waves, only 1 boss, getting this Mirsa will increase your damage potential. But it's not essential. Left fork is impressive, yes, but like I was saying, 13 BP is too much to recharge, and then after buffing yourself so many times, you'll be using normal attack for a while. But the total damage here is so impressive and in one of the strongest attacks in the game. I will do some tries, and I was not thinking about summoning this banner because I don't want the other 2 characters, but now that I see this damage potential, I maybe summon, and I'll be showing a video with damage comparison to see if Mirsa is so strong. If you don't wanna summon for this Mirsa, you can wait and, well, check other people damage with Mirsa. And there's one thing that's very important to say, is that this banner does not have a discount. Like the December banners that had medals discount, so you didn't need to just use 45,000 jewels. Now you need 45,000 jewels to summon for Mirsa, Minstrel, and Aldora. And just to finish Minstrel, Aldora, and Mirsa review, Mirsa is an upgrade over UDX Mirsa, but you need UDX Mirsa to take full potential of this one. With just left fork, you are restricted to some usage, although very powerful. If you already have characters like Rofas and Madeline, you already have very strong characters for farming. You may not need Mirsa so much, but he is very strong nonetheless. Very strong. Now, let's return here. I must say that if I were to give a grade for all the styles, I must say that Mirsa with Steelblade Light inherited is a triple S style. Without his inheritance, he's a double S style for the tier list. Powerful, but also limited in some of his builds since he's not a turn 1 damage dealer. Also, one last thing, if you want a turn 1 damage nuke, you kinda have one, but it's not so interesting. Let me give you a look here. That is Dragon's Lair attack. It's 8 PP with 47 power. I don't think it's interesting. You either go for turn 2 with him or turn 1 with Steelblade Light. And Steelblade Light has delay. We have to remember that. Okay, so finishing. Let me return here. Mirsa with Steelblade Light, very powerful, a triple S tier character. Without it, only double S tier, even through on the tops, has some restriction for usage. Minstrel, not interesting in my opinion. We will get better debuffers, and this guy here will not be so relevant in the future. If you have the UDX version, you just got a little more usage, but as a support unit, there are better characters. I would say that this Minstrel is only an S tier in the current scenarios. Aldora is a good spellcaster, but has a lot of bad points where she needs to take damage to do more. And in my opinion, she's also only an S on the tier list. And also, if you have other fire nukers, at least 2, you're already very safe. And just take Aldora if you are summoning for Mirsa. In my opinion, only summon here if you want this Mirsa. The banner value here is kind of low because you are only chasing one style, just like chasing UDX Matriarch. There were other 2 styles with her, but they were not so impressive looking in the future. If you're a fan of Minstrel or Aldora, it's still okay to summon for them, but take into consideration there is a new banner coming probably next week. That will be New Year's Banner Part 2 with Skirak, Golden Ball, and Vampire Lady. Skirak and Golden Ball are meta characters, so that banner has 2 interesting units. Here it's only 1. Also, we have a rerun banner, that is this one, Ultra Deluxe. There is no medal discount again, but you have Mirsa and Darken. Mirsa is still good if you fail to get Leon. Even with Leon, you can still use 2 Steelblade Light attackers in a boss fight if you want. They cover 2 elements, guys, Slash and Sun, but we do have better attackers just for damage. But Mirsa brings damage and heal. He's still interesting to use. Dark is very versatile, but you need his Farmable style to give him a turn 1 AoE attack for Fire and Pierce. He is the best butt of the latest Xenon. They work so well together in some strategies. With only those 2, we'll be able to clear many waves. But you need that Farmable style. And if you have that Xenon, you don't need both, to be honest. Even if they work well together. And this Minstrel here was good on release, but now it's just getting old. Even with his newest style, he does not offer more than many premium support units in the game. So, well, that's my opinion. Should you be summoning here? In my opinion, it depends if you are a fan of the characters and if you want to upgrade your Mirsa. If you don't have Steelblade Light, even with all this power, you can skip this banner and look into the future. But that's my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comment sections. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't. And Happy New Year! This is the last video for this year. I wish you all some happiness and good gaming, and stay with your family, stay safe. Hope to see you all soon in the next one. Bye.